to meet a young man who's 16 years old and a budding musician who first came to Children's Wisconsin when he was 4. How about that?
Here we just heard Becky here, the nurse, call him Miracle Boy. Is that what you said?
Yes.
The Miracle Boy. So let's start first here. We have Dad, who's Mark. Also have Mom, Amber, and then the patient is Mark as well. So Mark, Dad, why don't you take us back to about 10 years ago when you guys first started your journey, because your journey spans not only these 10 years, but all different departments and aspects of children. So take us back to 10 years ago and how it all started.
Yeah, sure. So 10, 11 years ago, our son, he became very ill. We brought him in very quickly, and we actually called ahead, right? So we knew we were coming in. We knew it was a serious situation. By the time we got here, we walked into the ER. They already had the doors wide open. Dr. Levas and his team were literally in the room waiting for us and just swarmed around him. And very quickly it got, for us as parents, very scary, very quick. But the amazing team here at Children's Hospital, again, rallied around us.
What made you come in so quickly, by the way? What were the episodes?
So he got very sick. He was, we brought him in a few days earlier, and he was just common flu-like symptoms, and we were kind of told that it's a virus, we'll work through it. And then overnight he started turning blue. He was blowing bubbles, and we knew that something's not right. So Mom called me. I was actually at work at the time, and I said, "Don't wait on the ambulance. Put him in the car and rush him to Children's."
Okay, and Doctor, what did you know about the situation prior to them coming in?
We knew that they were coming in because they called in first. And based on the description, what we do in the emergency department is we specialize in stabilization. And so we got the room ready, and really quickly our team recognized how sick Marky was. His blood pressure was low. He wasn't perfusing very well.
So this just wasn't a typical flu?
No, it was. It had progressed. He had become septic.
What is perfusing, by the way? I don't know that.
Oh, sorry about that. He wasn't getting enough blood and oxygen to all of his tissues.
Okay.
And so this became a progressively worse flu virus than what your Mom and Dad originally just thought.
Yeah, and really in the emergency department, our team, we are ready for anything that comes in. And Marky was really sick, so right away we had our nurses putting in IVs. We had respiratory therapy at the top of the bed, taking care of any breathing problems that he was having. And during all of that, we also have team members that are focusing on talking to the parents, getting the history, calming them, trying to be as reassuring as possible, with also being realistic about what is going to happen. Our goal in the emergency department is to stabilize, to treat, but then to mobilize the rest of the teams in the hospital. So we very quickly got Marky up to the ICU, where they were able to advance his care and really make sure that Marky's here today.
And you got to know him when he was only 4, if I'm doing the math correctly there. So you're calling him Marky. Now, if we could turn to young Mark here, who is now Mark. He's no longer Marky. What were your recollections like of those times?
There's not too much specific things. My memory of it's very spotty. I do remember coming in very late at night, basically half asleep, half, and the other half just what am I doing here? Help, stop poking me. That there was many times where I remember being told, at least later on, that I was while they're trying to put me to sleep and stuff to help me, which obviously they did very well. They were saying that I was gonna quote unquote punch or kick them when I was 4, when I'm half conscious, looking
yeah,
the whole time. So
eyes rolling in the back of his head for those of you listening on the radio.
And Mom, what are you feeling through all of this? I mean, you bring your 4-year-old into the hospital thinking it's the flu. It's obviously progressed to something more, and they're taking him away and doing all of these things. What's going through your head?
I was hysterical. Prior worried more than I ever had in my life. I'm sorry, I'm gonna cry. And then when they told us that he had to be intubated, and then he had to be placed on ECMO because he was crashing. He wasn't going to make it. But I had faith and hope in the whole entire team here at Children's, knowing that we brought him to the correct place. But I felt like my heart was being ripped out of my chest, knowing I was possibly moments away from losing my child.
And Wendy, one of the RNs, is here with us as well. And what were your recollections of all of this?
I didn't meet Marky until about 4 days into his fight. He was admitted to the ICU and then went to the cardiac ICU for the ECMO. So when I met him was after he had come off the ECMO and come back to our PICU. And he was incredibly sick. He was on dialysis. He was on drips to keep his blood pressure up. And I think what people don't realize is with all of the support that we have here at Children's and at the bedside, the nurses are really the only ones that spend every moment with that child and those families. And when he's as critical as Marky was, if you were here for a 12-hour shift, you were in that room for 12 hours straight.
Right.
So minute by minute, you are the only people besides those parents that know the intricacies of what is happening.
Yeah, and you guys, you become family when you spend that amount of time here. And so the story doesn't just end there with Mark's story, although there's still more to that story, I think. But you ended up letting them know that you had adopted a child. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And
Yep. When he stabilized and we had a little more time before he transferred out of the ICU to talk, then I had led them to, my husband and I adopted through Children's Service Society, through Children's Hospital of Wisconsin. We went through the Fostering to Adopt program to adopt our third child. Our first two are biological. And they had mentioned that they had always wanted to adopt. And I said, this might not be an ideal time. But I led them through to the program and to the steps. And I will let Amber or Mark take it from there.
Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so Wendy talked to us about this, and then after Mark transitioned out of the hospital, we started, again, we're like family now. We still talk. We still come here every year to deliver things to the ER department. And the nurses, and like she said, they're incredibly helpful. But through that journey, through that process or transition out of Mark's illness here and being taken care of, we then ourselves went into the Children's Foster to Adopt program, where we adopted our second child. He was brought to us only at 3 days old, and when he turned 3, we actually adopted him, and he is now 9 going on 10. So
Congrats.
it's pretty
Yeah,
amazing.
That is incredible. So
Two huge gifts from Children's Hospital.
Yes.
Yeah, well, I mean, and it's obviously you didn't expect that, right?
No.
Didn't expect any of that, coming in, taking care of your sick child, and then going through the adoption process. And sometimes you were put in this place for those reasons.
We're learning so much through this experience of being here. Dr. Lovis, if you would just tell us a little bit about Lynch syndrome. That is part of the story we haven't talked about yet.
I wasn't prepared to talk about Lynch syndrome. It is a genetic disorder, can be associated with GI illnesses. There's our genetics team here will be following the family, and I don't want to share too much about
Sure,
what's
I
going
don't
on.
mind. Yeah, I don't mind.
I read it in the notes, so
Yeah, I
I'm
don't mind.
sorry if I overstepped my
It's
bounds
okay.
by asking about that.
No, you didn't overstep your bounds at all. Really though, I think the point is that throughout Marky's life, and I call you Marky because I still have a letter from you on my desk that's signed Marky from right after you had gotten out of the hospital. But I think that the point here is that we do a lot of things, and we have a lot of specialties. So from being acutely ill in the septic stage, to needing bypass, ECMO, to needing occupational therapy and physical therapy afterwards, to coming back and having connections with the adoption services, to now later on figuring out that there is a genetic issue that Marky lives with.
Right.
We have all of those specialties here. So I think that's the point of this, is that we're here for this journey with Marky and his family,
Right.
And have the subspecialists and expertise.
Children still keeping an eye on him.
Yeah,
With regards to this Lynch syndrome. Yeah. which is
We're
great.
part of the community.
Right, exactly.
And now, Mom, Amber, what would you want others to know about Children's, and why should they donate?
Just that everyone here feels like family, that they treat your children as if they were their own. If you have any doubt into where you need to go, I mean, we live out in McGuanago, and there's other hospitals that I could have easily brought my son. He was septic again this past fall. I could have easily brought him to one of them out there, and I said no. I'm like, in my heart, I knew I had to drive out here and bring him to Children's because I wanted the absolute best care for both of my children that I possibly could.
And Mark, you're a big drummer.
Mm-hmm.
So do you have any favorite rock and roll drummers?
Admittingly, no, not really. I'm more into like fusion jazz type stuff. Like, let me think. I could be misremembering his name. Like Sean Crowder, or I don't exactly know the drummer on Sungazer. But
I'm turning to Marcus, our musical
Yeah.
expert. He was shrugging his shoulders. We do have a surprise here, right?
We
Are
do.
Are we ready to unleash that?
I think we should. We have a drum kit here for you that the folks at Children's have for you to. You can just, why don't you play us a little something off the air here?
wow,
Yeah.
such real drum kit.
Yes.
You
Now,
know,
we're gonna move that microphone
in the
over here.
in the amount of space that
Yeah,
we
good.
had, you'd be surprised how good this sounds.
Yeah, let's give it a
Show us
shot.
what you got.
Yeah, I think it's on. Yep. Yep.
Pretty mad skills you got there.
I don't know how to do this. This is
I think the jazz music is supposed to snap your fingers. Good job.
good job.
Well, we appreciate you guys joining us today and telling us your stories about both of your sons, and Dr. and Wendy, you as well, for sharing your stories. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
And if you find it please in your heart to donate, we're taking your calls right now. The donations are being doubled. Thanks to Gene Bauman. Call 414-337-9554. You can go to WKLH.com and donate there as well.
The Miracle Marathon continues, benefiting Children's Wisconsin right here on 96.5 WKLH.